vicious form of illegal entertainment.
Give me 182, please.
Is about to go online.
These contestants were already dead. Each was on death row. After 30 hours, I'll set the last one left alive free.
The players. Ruthless killers. Ooh, the game. Stay alive.
Game on.
You enjoy watching all this?
Let's go, sweetheart.
The Condemned.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hi, friends.
Hello, everyone. I'm just glad that we're getting closer and closer to Gerard Gerary, as I did go see Plane. So I'm getting prepared for the season. Are you ready, Dan?
I heard Plane was actually pretty good. It got good reviews. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see that in next Gerard Gerary.
Yeah. I mean, my birthday's coming up. Maybe I'll treat myself to a little Gerard Butler.
I don't even have anything to say. Really
What is there to say? That's who wouldn't want to be graced with Gerard Butler for their birthday, for their 36th birthday.
Oh, man. Good old Gerard, you are just right around the corner, which reminds me, actually, we should have had a poll up by now for next week's movie of the month. Completely sleeping on it, so we'll have to figure out what that is. But hopefully, by the time you guys listen to this podcast, you could go on to our Twitter at TicTamPod and vote in whatever poll that we've decided to do between Tuesday and Friday, because we need to watch that movie for next week's episode. So it's got to happen.
Something needs to happen. We need content.
Through the magic of editing, maybe we could put it in at one point. Like once we could discuss. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So you go on to TicTamPod and vote for movie.
Mr.
Or you
Black.
could vote for the Denver Broncos. So yeah, this week is Mark's pick. Mark, why don't you tell us the movie that you picked?
So I picked The Condemned. I believe it's 2006 from WWE Movies starring one Stone Cold Steve Austin. Basically, the whole reason I had seen this movie previously. The whole reason I picked it was because I think at some point during December or something, we were discussing off pod about wrestler movies or something. Maybe it was a Rock conversation or something. And I just looked for a movie that I thought I remembered being kind of, weird and, just funny watching Stone Cold Steve Austin stumble around in it. A little more darker than I remember them getting in this. But this movie for the time period was like still a good commentary on kind of current culture, which is odd enough. But yeah, it's got a lot of the really good action stuff that Austin did when he first stepped into the movies. For the few ones he did, he was trying to go for the action star that doesn't do all the fancy stunts. Is more just hand-to-hand combat with him, and they got a good, at least a good foil, I guess you could say, in Vinnie Jones, who wasn't like overwhelmingly like larger than Stone Cold. but still gave enough of a presence and a pathos to sort of be his antagonist in the movie. It's just real dumb with Austin just basically being stone cold in a jungle. That was essentially my recollection of this movie. I'm excited to see what you guys think.
Okay. Dan, where are you coming from with The Condemned?
I like The Condemned better when it was called Battle Royale. Or The Running Man.
Or The Hunger Games.
Or The Hunger Games. Those were better movies that really figured out how to do the whole jungle thing. This movie sucked balls. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. And I like Steve Austin. He was a wrestler that I was really shocked that couldn't make the leap to major motion pictures, or at least be successful in it, because he had a lot of charisma in the WWE. The guy for a while carried the business, and he was very good on the mic. He played the badass to a T. He was great, and just couldn't bridge that gap for some reason. So that was a little upsetting. But this movie overall, the action is very, very muddled. It's hard to see what's going on. Like a lot of intense close-ups, shaky cam going on. So it was hard for me to get invested in the action when you couldn't see what was happening. And they shoehorned a lot of other backstory in, a lot of filler. They needed to pad the runtime, I guess. Right, because they show like, his ex-wife. They have like the FBI or the CIA is involved now.
Some government agency.
Yeah.
I think it is the FBI and CIA, but like they don't distinct who is who, essentially, in the conversations.
Yeah, just someone is coming after Steve Austin now. It was just all over the place. The movie had a bunch of ideas and couldn't cohesively put it together. I don't know. I didn't care about any of the condemned players. They couldn't have put together a least interesting group of people. I would say that maybe the husband and wife team could have been interesting, but the wife gets no lines. She maybe has one line and it's in Spanish. And then the husband just spends the rest of his time on the island crying. Yeah, it was
shit kicked out of him.
Oh man. Yeah, like they show these people dying, and a lot of them by their ankle bracelets getting set off.
Yeah,
which is like, oh, look at all the explosions we have. We're a legit action movie. I don't know. You didn't care about any of the characters, so why would you care that they died? You barely care about Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The only people that I wanted to see in this entire movie was the crew and the producer.
Even they were interesting, yeah, for the most part, because there was the whole like guilty conscience thing where they're showing too much.
Yeah, those two they tried a little bit with, and I guess couldn't get all the way there with them. As I was calling him in my head, the guy from Suits, despite the fact that I've never seen Suits.
Was that Rick Hoffman?
Yeah, I've just seen him in all the advertisements probably surrounding while watching wrestling. And I'm like, that's the Suits guy. But yeah, more so the other two that were in there and the producer, like once, Vinnie Jones does his rampage on the people that weren't putting up a stink about it, I was like, okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't care about those people because you barely get to know them, right? They're just random people who work for the production crew.
Yeah.
And speaking of WWE, Vince still has a hard-on for beating the NFL, apparently, in 2007. Right? He's like, I want to beat the whole point is the producer, Breckel?
Yeah.
Breckel. So he keeps saying he wants his live stream on the World Wide Web to beat the Super Bowl. He wants more viewers than the Super Bowl. So that's just Vince McMahon trying to say he wants to beat the NFL, it'll just never happen. But he had to get, at least in fantasy, he could get it there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, this movie kind of sucked.
Yeah, there were a bunch of ideas. And you've seen some people, like I don't know if it was an inspiration. but the semi idea that that game we played, Blood Sport or Blood Island or whatever it was called, for Extra Life the one time, sort of had a similar concept of dropping people on an island and filming it for the internet. But yeah, like that whole concept was good, and the social commentary they tried to make for it was great. But I just think there were places they could have went instead of going to some of the hometown filler they did, and they just for some reason were trying to make you care about Jack so much, but didn't give you any reason, outside of like the most the most like
Cliche.
shallow, things to care about with him.
Yeah, it's just it fell flat. That's all. I like Stone Cold. I thought he was fine, but he just lumbers around, and the action is so muddled. It's hard to
He basically plays Stone Cold Steve Austin, but
for the most part.
but not cool Stone Cold. But this is like 2 knee surgeries later Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, once he falls out of a fucking helicopter and lands on his legs, yeah, that'll mess up your knees.
Yeah. As for me, this is the first time seeing it, and this is like the first movie, and I said this to you guys off podcast. This is the first movie I've ever watched where I honestly felt seasick watching it.
Oh, because the camera movement.
The camera movement is too much, way too much, and it's like deliberate, right? It's like they're doing this as an effect. It's like when you watch other movies get this kind of rap, like The Bourne Identity and stuff like that, and that's almost like because like literally a guy is running with the camera, to keep up with to Matt Damon. This one is just like, okay, we have these guys framed, but let's just shake the camera violently while this is happening to make it seem more kinetic.
Yeah, I guess it's to help convey the craziness of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it made me feel uncomfortable and like somewhat nauseous. And I did not like that. This movie tries to make points about watching violence and consuming violence. I don't really know what it wants to say about it, but it's there. This movie's too long. I hate saying that as much as I say it, but this movie's fucking long.
For a B movie, you really shouldn't be going over the hour and 30-minute threshold.
Yeah. It's an hour and like 57, I think it is.
Yeah. Like, I was gonna say you cut out like the 10 minutes of, the hometown stuff, and basically just mention he has a wife and he calls her and then that's it. Like cut out the rest of that.
See, I don't know if like we're sitting here saying that we don't care about anybody, and that's their one attempt to have like a backstory for somebody. So like then you're kind of just I care less about him now. And I don't necessarily care about him because of that, but I don't know. They were able, like Dan, you mentioned The Running Man. They were able to set up Schwarzenegger's story in like a 5-minute prologue scene of like why he's in prison and why we should care about him and all that kind of stuff. Don't really have that in here where, because Stone Cold Steve Austin's character is just shrouded in mystery because he's like a Navy SEAL and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know really what he did to get himself where he is. I'm just all right, well, this guy's a blank slate. Why do I give a shit?
Ant, you're forgetting. They showed that he is very kind to a rat
That's true.
in prison. So he's the tough guy with a heart of gold.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like I don't mind the hometown stuff, maybe because it wasn't shot with a shaky cam, but there's just nobody that we really care about, like you guys said, because we don't spend time with anybody else really. Like there needs to be somebody that tags along with Steve Austin, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for with that. I think his name was Paco.
Paco doesn't. They're only there for like you need like a Rob Schneider in
Judge Dredd.
In Judge Dredd, right?
Yeah.
So, or like I picture like a John Leguizamo type. Like for some reason gets put on that island and he sees this big guy. And he's
that reminds me of. Have you ever seen Predators?
I haven't.
With damn it, what's his name?
I know Adrian Brody's in it and Topher Grace.
And Oh gosh, it's killing me that I can't remember his name because I love him as an actor. Hold on, 1 second. Predators. Hold on.
Holding.
Walton Goggins.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Walton Goggins is in it, and so the premise of Predators is all of these killers are dropped onto the Predators' home planet, right? And Walton Goggins. Oh, damn it! No, it's Topher Grace. Yeah, Topher Grace keeps saying he got abducted by accident and he shouldn't be there. And it turns out at the end, Topher Grace is a serial killer, and he just like preys on innocent people. Where Adrian Brody was a Marine, Walton Goggins was some. I think he was a mass murderer as well. But like Topher Grace is more of the sneaky killer.
Right. The
So-
mild mannered type thing.
Exactly. So that's how they could have done it in The Condemned, right? Like you throw in John Leguizamo, and you're like, I shouldn't be here, man. I don't know why I'm here. And then Stone Cold has maybe a little group of survivors with him, and John Leguizamo picks off a couple people. Like, oh, I lied. I do deserve to be here, and now that gives Stone Cold one more obstacle to overcome.
Yeah. I don't even necessarily need that or like a twist like that. It's just I think we need him, like he doesn't interact with anybody throughout the like he talks to Paco for a scene. He talks to his I think girlfriend. I don't think it's technically his wife.
Okay.
And that's it. Nobody is framed in their relationship to him while they're on the island. It's just a lot of cutting back and forth, and we're just not given a reason to care about exactly. I can't even name anybody.
No, he comes across Stone Cold comes across a few people, but he doesn't have any interactions with them. Like the one woman traps him in the bunker, and then she just automatically dies. They don't even. He tries to save her, but she just kills herself. He talks to Paco. That's it. He doesn't, and Vinnie Jones, but that's just they're fighting.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to be invested in anybody.
Right. And that's just a detriment, not so much because you're not invested with them, is because you don't learn anything through relationships for him. Like, we're supposed to care about him. Above all else, if you don't care about anybody else, doesn't matter. You're supposed to care about Stone Cold Steve Austin. We don't know anything about him besides that he has a girlfriend back home that he hasn't seen in 2 years because he's been in our prison. So it's
supposedly he has like money saved up somewhere, but that never comes into play.
Right. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, it's a good character. He did anything of any interest because he doesn't really have many lines.
No,
he's got like the one scene before they go out, right? And then he has conversations with Paco. It's about it.
Right. And like I think it's really all they care about is that it's shown he's a badass of unequal proportion.
Yeah.
Right. He takes out the Islamic guy in the prison with one hit. He goes toe to toe with the big guy from Troy. And that's the whole, like, oh shit, like he's a man of few words and he's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they care about.
I would like to see another wrestler in here.
Yeah, I kept looking for names. Like there might be somebody, but I didn't recognize any of the names.
Well, and who would you have wanted in there?
Like Dream Team, I would like to see Triple H in there. I think Triple H would have fit right in on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean Blade Trinity's Triple H?
The very same.
That's perfect.
I think he would be good.
Yeah,
He's got size to him, and he's got, he kind of looks like a criminal.
Sure.
Long hair.
You dirty him up, right?
Yeah.
They're all dirty.
I think that would just be fun just to have that kind of stunt casting to it. Because
it's a WWE movie anyway.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, they decided not to put anyone else in there. I mean, I think they do that with the Marine. I think the Marine series has several wrestlers in it. Not necessarily the one that had Cena in it, but like I think the Miz has been in like 4 of them.
Shawn Michaels,
yeah.
And Shawn Michaels is in one. Is Edge in one of them?
I don't know. It wasn't the lead. I think Ted DiBiase Jr. was the lead in one of them.
Yeah. So I guess that was the Marine their way of kind of getting their feet wet maybe into acting?
Yeah, because like some of the female wrestlers would go into it as like sidekicks or...
Was Becky one of them?
Yeah, she was in one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were like,
it's
anyone that Vince thought he could turn into
a star.
a star and then own their name.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't know if you were the one that told me, but the fact that technically WWE owns the name John Cena. So
I didn't know that.
yeah,
But that makes sense because that's why a lot of the times when a wrestler would jump ship to say WCW,
Yeah.
they couldn't use their moniker because
Yeah,
Vince owned the name.
yeah, he doesn't own it in full because John Cena is his real name.
Okay,
Um,
it'd be hard to do.
But like, I guess if he uses it in an entertainment like way, like a movie, TV show or something, like Vince gets a piece of it.
Mhm.
Okay,
You know,
man, that Vince.
that's why The Rock is Dwayne The Rock Johnson for that same reason.
So that's why he goes by Dwayne Johnson most of the time now.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson because that's not
Okay. Right. That's not
owned.
what his full moniker was in WWE. Makes sense. What was the big one? Well, I mean, like Bret the Hitman Hart, right? Bret, he just became Bret Hart, really.
Yeah.
Like Jake the Snake. I don't think he could use Jake the Snake. It was just Jake Roberts. So yeah, stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Cena's in the unfortunate thing where he used his actual name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I will give this movie some credit because there are two pretty good lines in it. There are two pretty good lines where the one the black guy, what's his name? He's only in the movie. Marcus Johnson. He plays Creston Mackey. He's in a movie for like 2 scenes, and there's a scene where he's getting like a massage from another one of the players. He's kind of talking about how he got busted for marijuana possession, this, that, and the other thing. And the woman pulls his ankle bracelet,
Mm-hmm.
and Marcus Johnson's character says, "Bitch got me again." I laughed out loud. That was a good line. It was great line delivery too. And the second one was at the end where Stone Cold is facing down Vinnie Jones, and Vinnie Jones is giving him the sob story about his life. Like, oh, this is what I went through, blah blah blah. And Austin says, "Oh, it sounds like you've had a really tough life." Vinnie Jones goes, "Yeah." And Steve Austin says, "It's a good thing that it's over." And he shoots him like 10 times. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. That was a good line, I guess. I'll give him that.
I thought it was decent. I laughed out loud at the amount of times he shoots him.
But you don't see it. It's like every time it pans to an extreme close up of the gun, and then an extreme close up of Vinnie Jones's face.
Yeah,
so you don't,
and
you
him
don't
just
see anything.
Him just dancing in the chair, basically.
Yeah, like having a convulsion. Yeah, he shot him like 7 times.
And then like one more for good luck, basically.
Yeah, and it was an exaggerated pause on the last shot. Is he gonna do it again? No, we did it.
He did
Empty the clip. Yeah, he did the thing. So this movie has some parts where I laughed, but a lot of times I like checked out a few times. It's like Ant, you said the runtime was a big detriment. I got up and I made myself a peanut butter sandwich. I was getting water. Like I was kind of trying to do anything other than watch the movie if I could.
Yeah, I get that. It's just they tried so much. Like I think a lot of it is the production camp kind of stuff that kind of just like, all right, we get it, sort of stuff. All right, and all that strife. When I was like you guys do exactly what this fucking thing was.
Yeah,
he didn't lie to, right? The head producer Breckel, he didn't lie to anybody.
Yeah, like come on, guys. This should have been like day one stuff. Like, we're gonna show people dying on an island, murdering each other. That's when your flag should go up.
I wonder if that one guy's flag didn't go up until it turned from just murder to like all other kinds of terrible things these people do.
It's a rape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but again, like you have to realize, all right, so this is going to be a co-ed stream, right? You're going to put murderers of both men and women on an island. What do you think's going to happen if one of them gets caught, right? You think these men have been in prison for years? They're on death row. Do you think they're not going to try to do that?
Right.
Well, I'm sure the producer knew.
Right. But everyone should know.
All their hands are dirty.
Yeah, absolutely.
They trying to back out. That's bullshit.
Yeah. Right, the girlfriend starts to play, innocent. Like, oh, this is going too far. This is going too far. Well, you knew it was going to go this far.
you've already watched 3 people die, and now this woman is getting savagely beaten by Vinnie Jones. I get it, but at the same time, you weren't like, "Oh, that German guy just blew up. This isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this."
Yeah, no one batted an eye when the first guy he got stabbed in the neck and then
Yeah.
blown up.
Or the guy got impaled on the driftwood as he got pushed out of the helicopter.
Yeah, again, this isn't. I'm assuming from what they showed at the beginning, this took a lot of planning.
Yes.
Right, they're setting up cameras all over the island. You're making sure the connection to the satellite is secure. I'm sure there's a ton of work that goes into doing something on this kind of magnitude. You're having production meetings. You're having all sorts of brainstorming sessions, I'm sure. So, cut the crap.
Yeah. It's not like this is the first day on the island. You've had to plan where you're going to stick the cameras to watch people get murdered.
Right. In specific areas, pretty much.
Yeah.
So and then they accuse him of manipulating the show. Well, yeah, sure. That's what you do in television. You manipulate it for the audience. I don't understand is this these people's first time watching television?
Right. I mean, I guess there is like, oh, well, he should be. It should have been just enough to get them on the island to kill each other. Now he's like stacking the deck
in favor of Vinnie Jones.
In favor of Vinnie
much.
Jones, yeah.
And that would have been cool too if there was maybe a little bit of a backstory between the producer and Vinnie Jones. Because like, why is he just backing this guy? Right? Maybe they have a history together.
Mm-hmm. But The Condemned is directed by Scott Weiper, director of A Better Way to Die, Marine 3 Homefront, and The Big Ugly. Stars Steve Austin, Vinnie Jones, Nathan Jones, Robert Mamone, Tori Mussett, Manu Bennett, Madeline West, Rick Hoffman, Christopher James Baker, Samantha Healy, Luke Pegler, and Masa Yamaguchi. It's an IMDb score of 6.0 and a Rotten Tomato score of 15%. Budget $20 million. Box office $8 million. Did not get a whole lot. I forgot
Pretty
this film
good.
went to theaters.
Yeah.
I guess this was the beginning of the end for Stone Cold's movie career.
Let's see.
He did a couple others.
Like direct to DVD kind of stuff or direct to VOD.
The Geezer features.
Geezer features. That's a good one. I like that saying.
Yeah.
That's good.
The ones that exploit poor Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that's where I've heard it.
Well,
yeah.
He was in the Expendables.
He was in the Expendables, yeah.
That's true. Yeah. What Expendables 3?
The original.
He was
in The Longest Yard.
Okay. And he was pretty good in that.
Yeah. That was before this.
Okay.
Yeah, and he seems to do like a lot of like spot stuff that the WWE needs him to do.
Yeah. Well, for a while he had his own reality show, right? Like the Broken Skull Ranch.
Yeah.
So maybe he wanted to stick to TV.
Yeah, he did.
Movies like Maximum Conviction,
Tactical Force.
Those sound like winners.
Recoil.
You know what's great, guys?
Hunt to Kill.
So we're getting ready to essentially tear apart a movie that Stone Cold Steve Austin is in, right?
Yep.
And that man, he's in his well into his 50s.
Mm-hmm.
He could absolutely tear us apart.
Yeah, he could tear us apart better than we could tear apart this movie.
100%. And that's the beauty of podcasting.
Yeah.
We could say this right now and like, oh, well, Stone Cold's not going to, beat me up.
Stone Cold's almost 60. He's 59.
He looks great. Mm-hmm. I follow him on Instagram and he'll post a lot of his workout routines. I would strive to be in that kind of shape at his age.
I'd strive to be in that shape at this age.
Yeah, right. No, he was one of my favorites. It sounds like he's right behind me and I'm trying to like make up for everything I'm going to say. Yeah. But I loved Stone Cold Steve Austin as a kid growing up watching him. And I was very upset that he never really made that big jump to like where Bautista and Cena and The Rock are. But, it's tough. He's better than Hulk Hogan. I'll give him that.
Yes.
Hogan might be the worst. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Hogan might be the worst wrestler turned actor ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some guys that only got like one movie that were worse, but in terms of people that got multiple chances,
Yeah,
I
It's
would
got to
agree
be
with you.
him, right?
yeah, and mainstream added WWE produced movies. Yeah,
Yeah, like The
Easily.
Miz isn't great, but he's kind of better than Hogan.
I feel like the Miz is like he was on the Real World. He's got that kind of pedigree of
Yeah.
just being in front of a camera and does have a sense of charisma.
Yeah,
Hogan was always just about Hogan.
Yeah.
So like, how can I make myself look good in this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
You guys wanna-
the Rock is becoming dangerously close to, I will say. Because
The Rock has gone lowest common denominator, right? He's just like everything I am going to be in now is going to be the safest project possible.
yes, what makes me look good? How do I look good? And like, how many people do I get to beat up? Essentially,
Right. He's not going to be doing those fun movies like Be Cool, where he was actually being a character.
right?
yeah. And the fun part is on the opposite end, Dave Bautista seems to be wanting to do actual movies.
Yeah. As long as he gets to wear tiny glasses, right?
Yes.
he might be my favorite wrestler turned actor as of
Yeah.
right now.
He's a great guy too. And I may have seen the preview for his M. Night Shyamalan movie when I went and saw Plane.
Oh, the Knock at the Cabin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing that just because of him.
And yes, I think he wears tiny glasses in that.
The funny thing is that it's the Arnold Schwarzenegger effect though with these guys. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in a couple of movies is supposed to be playing like a normal dude, like a Jingle All the Way. He's a normal dude
From Minnesota.
There almost needs to be, as Mark always says, one line
Yeah.
of why this enormous person is just walking around in everyday life. It's like, what are you doing here?
Right. Yeah, you have no business being at this spot.
Yeah. So it's like at some point, I guess it becomes sort of a detriment for a guy like Bautista, because how many times in your life have you met somebody that looks like a Bautista? Because he was in Glass Onion, and it's like he's got like all these tattoos all over him. He's just yoked to death,
Yeah.
and it's just like
He's a Twitch streamer.
yeah, he looks like he's just pumped up with roids or whatever, human growth hormone, like he's about to pop, and just hanging around with Kate Hudson.
Yeah, he somehow he knows an aspiring senator, a scientist, and a fashion model.
Yeah.
The just the motliest crew. So yeah, you do need to have that line of dialogue where like, oh yeah, like they grew up in like they went to high school together, and then he was introduced to the group through this person.
Mhm.
And yeah, I agree. I think you need to, and like you said, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, oh, why is he just a mattress salesman in Minnesota when he's clearly one of the biggest men ever?
Yeah. What's this 6'4" Austrian dude doing here?
I'm not from Austria. I am from Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be a line of dialogue somewhere.
You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got?
Okay, guys. It's a brand new year, but it's the same old plug for our friends Tia and Brittany and their podcast, The Top 10 with Tia. It is exclusively on geekvibesnation.com. I don't know that for sure, but I do know it's at geekvibesnation.com. So please go there, search The Top 10 with Tia. Please give them a listen. They are great friends of the podcast.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
I'm Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right, whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. Involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, Yeah, I was going for more.
Or you could
epic.
tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. A From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for The Condemned. We open on a prison in Belarus as a camera crew walks through being escorted by guards. Crew is taken to a guard tower to overlook the yard as a group of inmates approach one other inmate and start a fight. Solo guy beats the shit out of the other guys in no time and winds up killing at least a couple of them. Producer and the camera crew decides he wants this guy, so they pay off the guards for the inmate for the show. Back into the production truck, the producer, Breckle, gets the analytics from his team about online awareness for his new show. All about that SEO.
Yes, it is.
And he basically tells them he wants the entire internet to know about the show. Breckle walks out and talks to his tech guy, Goldie, who's having a panic attack over the remote nature of the shoot and the fact that the entire crew doesn't speak English. Breckle then sits down for an interview with a reporter. The reporter basically tells him frankly that he's making an over-elaborate snuff film and he's going to get rich by capitalizing on murder. He, for some reason, gets offended by this as if this is news to him, and he storms off, saying his ratings are going to beat anything on television this year, which is such a petty, Elon Musk-ish response to criticism.
Yeah, it's the what is it? The genius, right? Like no one understands my genius. They'll see.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're murdering people on live television. You should really feel bad about that. And then his just response is, "It's going to get huge ratings." does not answer her statement at all.
That screams, I have the biggest building, I have the tallest building in New York energy right there.
on September 12th.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm killing people, but it's gonna make a killing in the ratings.
Yep. I'm gonna get so fucking rich over this. You're just jealous.
So this was something that I had a question about, right? Because she mentions you're a multimillionaire, almost billionaire. Why not just make him a billionaire to begin with?
She says he's a millionaire going to become a billionaire through murder, basically.
Okay. So maybe I must have missed that sentence. I was like, well, why not just make him a billionaire if he's close to being a billionaire?
No.
It's still he's shitty regardless.
Yeah. This stunt is going to make him a billionaire, is what she's saying.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. His assistants then come up to tell him that one of the contestants was killed before the contest. So he has a very anti-Islamic rant about how he needs an Arab in order to get the Middle Eastern audience. And so one of the guys says that they have a track on a guy in a South American prison that fits the bill. So Breckle says he wants to see him. So we cut to that same El Salvador prison where this guy is being held, and they round up a couple of guys to fight him, including Stone Cold Steve Austin, Pet and Rat.
Yeah,
they bring
when we get to the end of the segment.
They bring Austin and another guy into the cage with the Middle Eastern guy, and Austin kills the guy with a quick 1-2, and that's the end of the Middle Eastern guy.
Yeah. The way the producer decides the type of people he wants in this feels like Vince McMahon.
Sure. Yeah.
Get me the biggest guy.
No, like look at this country. This is all where the Middle Eastern Arab countries are. I need one of those. Get me one of those.
Yeah.
It feels very much like something Vince would yell in a meeting.
That's why the Great Khali exists. That's
exactly.
It's I think that's kind of the reason why I feel like the social commentary falls flat, because this is a WWE produced film, and Vince because I don't feel like because it feels like that should be the point, right?
Yeah.
But he feels so much like Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Vince McMahon would pick up on that.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a similar situation in things we've wrote before, or you wrote, I should say, that week.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, Vince he's made a living off of violence, so
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like the social commentary here is like is in some way pointing a mirror back at the WWE,
right?
But I feel like everything with the WWE stamp has to have been watched by Vince McMahon, right? He's absolutely had final cut on this.
He should have at least seen the script, I'd imagine.
And I just don't think he thought
Yeah.
while watching it, it was like, oh my God, look, this is incredible social commentary, guys. Great job.
Yeah, it's like, aha, the guy blew up in a plane at the end. Or a helicopter.
exactly.
We need more Steve Austin. Get me Steve Austin.
Can that girl's shirt be any lower?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Can at least 90% of this women in this movie have boob jobs?
They can't beat the men. Make sure that they don't beat the men.
Breckle sees this over a live feed and decides it's even better. He'll get interest out of anti-American sentiments, hoping to see the American lose. So they bring all the contestants together, and we have a quick intro to each of them. There's a husband and wife, a black guy, Vinnie Jones. They're all there.
Yeah, that race, Vinnie Jones race. Got to represent the Vinnie Jones.
Yep. Breckle then spots Austin, whose name is Conrad, and talks to him. Conrad doesn't give him any info about where he's from or who he is, so Breckle tells his assistant to fake a story about Conrad being a racist KKK member that blew up a hospital in El Salvador, and I will not say what kind of hospital it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the mentally challenged, but they didn't say challenged.
Oh, they did not. One of the crew members tells the contestants what the story is. They have 30 hours on an island to be the last person standing. They have ankle monitors on the leg that is packed with plastic explosive. That's to explode in 30 hours, but will also explode if you pull a red tab on it or if you try to disarm it. Basically, kill everybody in 30 hours or less.
Yeah, it feels like that red tab was very flimsy, as we find out later. That it could get caught on just about anything in the jungle.
Yeah. If I was in this situation, though, they arm these things right now, and they're like right there. I'm pulling that fucking thing before those guys leave, right?
That's what Jen said.
Yeah.
She's like, what's to stop someone from pulling the tab there and just blowing everyone up?
Yep. Absolutely. That would be my thing. I was like, boom. What are you going to do? Because they'd have to disarm it, right?
Right. And they got 10 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, unless if they were handcuffed to the helicopter, like they couldn't jump out themselves.
Well,
pull
at
the
that
tab
point,
on one person and then dive out of the helicopter into the ocean.
They're in the warehouse at that point.
Yeah, I'm pulling into the warehouse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where all those
There's
crew
nowhere
members
for
are.
anyone to run.
Yeah. All those crew dudes are there. Yeah. I'm taking those guys with me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go with no fucking island.
Call their bluff. Oh, you're going to die anyway.
Yeah. I have a 10% chance of surviving.
Right. You hold all the cards now.
Yeah. I pull that tab and I'm like, what are you going to fucking do? You got to disarm it, right?
Yeah. Or at least you make the bluff at first where you reach down like, I'm going to pull this now unless you unarm it and free everybody. So your call. And if they say no, like, all right, just pull it.
They'd probably just shoot you then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like, all right. Well, no, because that makes sense.
They just shoot you. You got to pull it.
You go all out.
Yep.
Like, hey, look at this. Whoop.
Yeah.
Ball's
like
in your court now.
So there's two ways to, if you pull that red tab, it's like, oh, what, you mean like this? Boom.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Then you could
Mine
say...
fell off.
Since it's television, like, did I do that? You could do a little quip.
This red tab?
Yeah, it's a smart plan.
Yeah. If I'm going to hell, I'm taking you with me, basically.
Right. Because, again, these are all death row inmates, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to take... If I look around the room, especially if I'm the old Russian dude, or is he Russian or German?
He is Russian.
So if I'm the old Russian man, and I see Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Giant from Troy, and Vinnie Jones and the others, I realize I don't stand a chance, right? They're younger than me, they're bigger than me, they're probably faster and stronger. At that point, I go for broke.
Yeah, absolutely. They arm the ankle monitors and put them all on a helicopter to the island. One by one, the crew gives them keys to unlock their chains and pushes them out of the helicopter. One contestant accidentally gets pushed out over a bunch of rocks and gets impaled and dies on impact. Asian guy manages to slip out of his handcuffs before he gets pushed out. And Conrad elbows the crew guy in the head before he gets pushed out onto the sandy hill and rolls down without his key. So he's stuck there with his shackles still on. One of the first to get pushed out is Yasantwa. That's a name.
Yeah.
A woman who makes it to land after she gets her shackles off in the water and notices camera on a wire overhead. It's just a few years before drones. Drones
that would make it so much better.
So much better.
A spider camera.
Yeah, wouldn't have had to worry about the blind spots or having a crew out there.
In ghillie suits.
That's so stupid, that part. Like, oh, we got the live camera. I figured it was a drone. I thought it was a drone. And no, it's just a guy in ghillie suits. they're hiding amongst the brush.
So she sees the camera on a wire, and this discovery is interrupted when she is attacked by the German contestant, who starts beating her up and attempting to rape her. Just went 0 to 100 until she manages to grab a piece of driftwood and stab him in the neck before she pulls the red tab on his monitor and blows him up as she runs away.
Question.
Mhm.
Should we have a counter for how many people get blown up by the ankle monitor?
It happens a lot.
I think it happens at least 4 times.
It's super repetitive.
Yes.
Yeah, I think at least half of them die because of the ankle thing.
Yeah.
Right. You have the German dude, the wife,
The black dude,
the black guy,
the black girl.
the black girl, the one guy who the guy from Troy, the giant guy.
Yep.
That's 5. And then at the end, so 6 times someone's killed from the ankle monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured they were going to save that for later, right? 'Cause you don't want to show off everything right away, usually. But no, the first kill, ankle monitor.
Yeah. It's like that's the third act move, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Or like Steve Austin pulls a Leon the Professional at the end.
Oh, and he goes for the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be a good idea.
Hands Beckle the red tab.
Yeah, but
With
they
him
want to
there.
they want to show off to us how much money they spent on explosion eyes.
That's what
$20 million.
That's essentially what it was. Look at all the explosions. We're a real action movie.
$20 million in shooting in Australia.
Could be worse, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, everything out there will kill you, though.
Especially Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. And the kangaroos are afraid of Stone Cold.
If the one rattlesnake doesn't get you, the other one will.
Texas rattlesnake.
Yeah.
And then the production crew celebrates the first death and the fact that they now have 15 million people watching. Breckel is not pleased. He's still waiting to get to 40 million. That's his goal. Meanwhile, Conrad jumps one of the other contestants that he thinks is following him, but it's just the husband that's looking for his wife. So Conrad lets him go, and in return, the guy gives Conrad his key to take his restraints off and runs off to find his wife. Elsewhere, the black guy is fucking with his monitor when he hears it buzz, which stops him from trying it any further. When he sees parachute care package fall, so he goes and grabs it to find a knife and some water. But then the Asian guy comes up from behind him, and they start to fight. Asian guy gets hit a few shots, but then the black guy gets him down and tries to pull the red tab on the guy's ankle monitor, then wraps the Asian guy in the parachute and runs off. Asian guy chases after him, but then comes across Vinnie Jones, who's just sitting there with a knife and wearing some sunglasses. The Asian guy goes to attack it, but Vinnie Jones convinces him not to, giving him his sunglasses back, and then decide to team up. Conrad is now walking through the woods when he comes across a big dude who doesn't say anything, and then they fight by doing mostly wrestling moves on each other until they fall down a hill. In the process of falling down, the red tab gets pulled off the big dude's monitor, so Conrad hits him in the head with a rock, and the guy falls off the cliff, and his monitor explodes as he's falling down the cliff.
Explosion number 2.
Mm-hmm. Now the feed is up to 14 million. Meanwhile, the feds are looking into the site and are trying to figure out where the island is located and who the participants are. They mentioned that there's no record of Jack Conrad, but his name is actually Jack Riley, who lived in Texas until 2 years ago when he disappeared, and he had a girlfriend in Texas.
Yeah, my only downside is Stone Cold doesn't do what The Rock does and figure out how to stunner somebody.
A lot of the times they don't use their wrestling moves, right?
No.
They usually just stick to punching and kicking.
Well, the upside to the rock bottom is it can very much look like just a regular fighting move.
Yeah, you just pick a guy up and throw him down, essentially. Yeah. The stunner is a little bit more involved, I guess.
Yeah. So, Steve, this guy's charging at you with a knife. You're going to kick him in the stomach, you're going to flip him off, and then you're going to stun him.
Yeah, you're going to flip it. Make sure you flip him off.
So the feds called Jack's girlfriend, Sarah, to tell her that they found Jack on the website. So she goes to her friend's bar to log on to his high-speed internet. They start watching the stream.
She pays for it. She pays for the website. Like, they need my credit card information.
Yeah. You would think like the feds would bring her in, right?
Yeah, that way, because now she's contributing to the violence.
Yeah.
Got to teach that girl how to pirate.
Or I was going to say maybe like the bartender has a way to get around that. Like, oh, I know how to hack this. I could do that. Or, someone knows how to hack it. So you're not paying for the violence.
I paid $40 to watch my boyfriend die.
Yeah. But she gets everyone involved. Like it's almost like watching, like everyone's watching the hometown hero in like an MMA fight at the end, right? Everyone's like, go, Jack, go.
Yeah. So Paco and Rosa, the husband and wife, they reunite and they start making out. But then Vinnie Jones comes out of nowhere and starts to fight Paco, who tells Rosa to run. Vinnie Jones and Paco fight, but Rosa gets stopped by Saiga, the Asian guy. And Vinnie Jones knocks Paco out and shackles him to a tree. When he wakes up, Vinnie Jones goes over to Rosa and starts feeling her up. She slaps him, and then he beats her unmercifully. Paco can only watch. Savage beating really takes the wind out of the sails of the production truck, and Julie starts to have change of heart and tells Breckle that this is his doing and he has the power to stop this. But the rest of the production team just back him, so they go on as if nothing is wrong. So Vinnie Jones finishes with Rosa, and her ankle monitor blows up. Does she pull it or he pulled it? I don't know why it blows up.
I think Vinnie Jones pulls it.
Okay.
Because he's done with her, essentially.
Gotcha. Then he finds that Paco has escaped, and he says he won't get far. Knee is basically broken at this point. After nightfall, Conrad comes upon Paco in the woods, who is beside himself in hysterics. Conrad tries to talk Paco down, but Paco wants him to find the guys and help him kill them. Conrad doesn't want to kill anyone. He just wants to help keep Paco alive. Meanwhile, Creston, the black guy, and Yasantwa run into each other, and after initial hostilities, Creston tells Yasantwa that he is not going to kill her, so they partner up. Conrad fixes Paco with a makeshift crutch for his broken knee, tells Paco that he saw a tower on the island that must have a radio, so he goes off to the tower, climbing across wires for the cameras. Meanwhile, another care package drops down, and Vinnie Jones and Saiga find it, and it has cigars and alcohol and other luxury items and a bow. The cameras lose Conrad, and Goldie tells Breckle that's because that Conrad is on the way to their location. So they set out to look for Conrad.
Again, this should have been a third act story.
Yeah.
Right? Conrad finding the production crew.
Yeah.
That should be after he takes care of Vinnie Jones, and now it's time to get the real bad guy, Breckle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cameras lose Conrad. The FBI, meanwhile, are not interested in doing a search for Jack because they were basically letting him rot in that prison, and they'll continue to do so.
Sort of like he knew what he signed up for.
Yeah. He's probably got so much dirt on the feds that they're like, let him die, because he's probably killed innocent people.
Yeah, so the blurb that they made up about him might not have been totally false.
Right.
I like when they do finally explain some of the stuff he said. I don't know if it's in this scene or a little later. They make sure to say all the people in there were drug lords. All of them.
It's like in Batman v Superman, when they fight Doomsday, they make sure that there's no one around so that they can destroy the city, right? You have to add that one little thing, like, oh no, it's okay, there's no one there, or no, it's all right, everyone in there was a bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's total. The total destruction is justified.
Yep. Could sleep at night.
Exactly. It's a very lazy way of writing.
And Conrad makes it to the production camp. He puts one guard to sleep, then sneaks up to the radio tower and knocks the guy out. He gets on the radio and calls Sarah and tells her that he didn't leave her, he loves her, but he doesn't have much time. So he gives her the account number for his bank account, and the crew sees him, and they cut the power to the tower just as he's trying to give her the coordinates of the island. They start shooting at him, and he has to run. Sarah calls the FBI and sends them the one coordinate he was about to get out before they cut the power. So the younger FBI guy finally convinces the other guys to look into the location. Meanwhile, Yasantwa and Creston hold up in a crashed airplane. Creston tells her all about how he got screwed by a woman, and that's why he was in prison. And right on cue, she disappears and pulls the red tab on his monitor and blows up sky high. That's when he says, "Bitch got me again."
Bitch got me again. Oh, such a great line.
That might be my favorite line in the movie.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Isn't there a line where the agency where one of the agents is saying how because they found out that Stone Cold Steve Austin's character is there, it caused problems for him? And the other agent goes, "Well, you told me to look into it." Right? Was that one of the lines?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember myself, but if that's true, why are we having this scene?
Yeah, I was really hoping in that agency scene that someone would use the line, and that's the bottom line.
That'd be good.
Just we're not going after him, and that's the bottom line.
Well, why not? Because I said so.
So, yeah. Come on, man. We could have read it so much better of a movie.
Oh, of course. But do you think Vince would have been like, no, we can't. That's a little too on the nose.
I know Vince would have been, that's good shit.
Give me more cocaine. Or I guess HGH at this point.
Yeah. Vinnie Jones and Saiga find Paco and beat the shit out of him on camera, which causes Goldie to leave the control room to go throw up. Julie tries to convince him to come with her to try and convince Breckle to put an end to all of this. They approach him and Breckle is hearing none of it. He calls Goldie an ingrate for turning his back on him after he made him rich. So Goldie folds and goes back to work. And Breckle slaps the shit out of Julie for being a bitch, basically. Conrad comes across Saiga and Vinnie Jones beating up Paco on the other side of a broken bridge. And then after shooting Paco point blank with an arrow, they set him ablaze. And then Conrad says, game on. So now he's playing.
Paco really gets it in this movie.
He gets... I don't know what that fucking guy did to deserve the treatment that he gets in this movie, but yeah.
He must have said something to the director. He's like, all right, now you're not just getting blown up, all right? You're getting your knee broken, you're getting the shit kicked out of you, and then they're going to light you ablaze.
First, you have to watch your wife get the shit beat out of her.
Right. He gets it worse than anybody.
There's no reason for it.
And he's the nicest guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be here. I just want to be with my wife. Well, too bad. You're going to have to watch her suffer, and then you're going to get shot in the gut with an arrow.
And it's set on fire.
While Vinnie Jones cackles above you.
So in the morning when Vinnie Jones and Saiga are camped out looking for him, Conrad sneaks up behind Saiga and starts fighting, and he starts getting some really good shots against Saiga. Then Vinnie Jones comes up with his bow and starts shooting at Conrad, so he has to run. So why winds up hiding in some sort of bunker, and then Yusantla is there. They tussle for a bit. She winds up getting hit by an arrow, and Conrad finds a way out through a drain and tries to get Yusantla to follow him, but she shakes him off and pulls her own red tab, and Conrad escapes right before it explodes. But everybody in the bar and everybody on camera that's watching the feed thinks that he died in that explosion. As do Saiga and Vinnie Jones, who now think that they're the only ones left, so they go hunting after each other. Saiga runs through the forest and comes across Conrad, and they start fighting. Then Vinnie Jones comes up, and he starts fighting with Conrad too. So they're back on the same team. But eventually, Conrad manages to kill Saiga, and Vinnie Jones runs away and jumps off a waterfall with Conrad close behind. But they wind up losing each other after the jump. So the production drops another care package for Vinnie Jones, and it winds up being a shotgun. It turns out that Breckle has been specifically aiding Vinnie Jones. So Jones comes across Conrad and starts shooting at him. Conrad gets hit and falls into a stream. Then Vinnie Jones comes across a couple of camera guys, who then shoots and then takes a machine gun off of them too.
Vinnie Jones doesn't know how a gun works in this movie for a while. He just keeps shooting at nothing where Stone Cold is.
Yes.
Right, he just keeps shooting at him when he can't see him. I think he shoots him 10 to 11 times. And just
let me waste all these shotgun bullets.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but apparently he has like unlimited shotgun bullets.
He does shoot like 5 or 6 times before he has to worry about reloading.
Yeah,
I feel like that's not a thing.
Yeah, he put in the God mode code.
Yeah. Then Vinnie Jones comes across a couple of camera guys and he shoots them too. Conrad resurfaces and Vinnie Jones starts shooting at him again and winds up going over a fall and into the water. And everyone assumes that Conrad is dead this time and that Vinnie Jones has won.
He's dead again, right? They think he's dead again.
Yeah, another repetitive part of this movie.
Yeah, that you can't do it twice. It only works once.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, you really don't need to. You don't need for everyone to think that he dies in that first explosion.
No, you could have had it, and I thought that what they were going to do was because they specifically say the cameras were melted because of the Molotov cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
So now you don't know what's going on. The audience doesn't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to have it like, oh my God, he might have died there. It would make more sense to see the body floating on the water thinking he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
That plays more of an impact because you actually see the body.
The FBI then said they're sending the Navy SEALs to the island. So Breckle gets wind of the fact that the Navy SEALs are coming, so he tells one of his guys to get the chopper ready to get him out of there. Breckle's plan is to leave the crew behind. Goldie gets told this, and he goes off, telling Breckle that he owes him millions and that he said he was going to take the crew with him. Breckle says plans change and that Goldie is probably not going to get the money that he was promised. So Goldie hits Breckle, and Breckle's other guy beats up Goldie and then slits his throat. And Vinnie Jones then shows up in a Jeep and tells Breckle to take his ankle monitor off. Breckle does, and then Vinnie Jones tells him he wants his money and that they had a deal. And Breckle has no intentions of honoring that deal either.
Why?
Yeah, like, I guess he's just getting too big in his britches, right? He just thinks he's this genius and he's going to fuck over this dude that he just watched kill 8 people.
Well, this is also at the point where he knows he's leaving because the Navy's coming.
Well,
so
if you're him, just give him the money, right? You have
but he
nothing
wants all
to
the
gain.
money because he's a greedy asshole.
Or does he just not have the money to begin with?
Well, I don't think he's got a duffel bag full of money waiting for Vinnie Jones.
That's what I was thinking. Like, would they have the cash prize there? You'd think they would.
I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there was a cash prize for. I think he had a deal with Vinnie Jones specifically.
Okay. Just on outside of everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why he was helping him solely.
Mm-hmm. But it also doesn't, like, the way Vinnie Jones proposes it. It doesn't sound like they even mentioned money though. But Vinnie Jones is like, I have my freedom. And that needs to be bankrolled. But it doesn't. It almost sounds like he's bringing it up now, which is weird. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know if he specifically, because I remember he told Stone Cold at the beginning that if you win, you get $5,000 cash.
Oh, do they? Did they mention that?
Yeah, he brings it up to Stone Cold at the beginning. So I don't know if he told that to everybody.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So Breckle leaves to go, but also like if you know you're leaving the island, you're like, oh yeah, Vinnie Jones, let me just go make sure everything's in order, and I'll bring it out to you, and then just like fly away.
Yeah, just hang tight. I have it. I'll go get it, because Vinnie Jones isn't the smartest guy,
right?
So I mean the character, not Vinnie Jones himself. I'm sure he's a smart man. But yeah, I think that's the way you do it, right? Just hang tight. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Breckle leaves to go see if Julie will come with him, but she tells him never to touch her again, so he leaves without her. Vinnie Jones then attacks one of the guards and takes his gun, then goes to the production tent and starts shooting everyone as he looks for Breckle. Meanwhile, Conrad wakes up and comes to the production camp and comes upon Breckle and his goon, and they get the drop on him, but he immediately beats up the goon and shoots him in the chest, and Breckle runs off. Vinnie Jones continues to blow people away until Julie is the only one left, and Conrad comes up behind him and tells Vinnie Jones to sit down before he shoots Vinnie Jones a bunch of times. Conrad and Julie then go out to see Breckle getting onto his helicopter and trying to fly away. Conrad manages to throw Vinnie Jones' ankle monitor onto the helicopter with a red tab pulled, and it explodes, and the helicopter crashes into a cliff. Then Julie gives Conrad the key to his own ankle monitor, and she walks away. Then Conrad makes it back to Texas, and Julie, as Nickelback, plays. And that is the end.
The Resistance. Mwah, Nickelback.
That is the end of The Condemned.
Yeah,
when they had the close up of the key to the ankle monitor, I was thinking he might not know what that is.
Yeah.
What the hell am I supposed to do with this?
What the fuck is this thing?
Some weird fucking metal thing. Don't help me none.
The Nickelback end song just put this in a place in time.
100%. And that time was the late 2000s.
Yep. Yeah. 2007.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. Terrible way to go out.
All right. Yeah, that is The Condemned. I didn't hate it, but it was. I'll never watch it again. It was entirely too long. Yeah. And plus, I watched it on a streaming service that had commercials, so that didn't help.
And can I want to tell our audience something, if I may?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a true story. You as in Anthony, you decided to watch The Condemned over The Last of Us on Sunday.
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah, that's where we are in this podcast.
If you're asking me if I've watched anything of any substance in the last year, probably not.
Well, your commitment is pure then to this podcast.
Yeah. We don't do what we watched this week anymore, but I don't know. Bleak post-apocalypse. We talked earlier in the week off podcast about how we're like over Marvel movies in a way.
Yeah.
I think I'm there with bleak post-apocalyptic movies, or
you've reached your threshold.
I'm not in a headspace that I really want to consume that.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. You do need to be in somewhat of a cheery deposition, I'd imagine, because The Last of Us gets dark quick.
Yeah. Not that I don't want to say that I'm in a bad headspace. I'm just not in the headspace that I want to feel that hopelessness ever. Like my wife still watches Handmaid's Tale. I will not watch it with her because I had to tap out of that. I was like, I can't do bleak, humorless bleak anymore. At least
that's
right.
more or less the same for The Last of Us.
Yeah.
If not bleaker, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to watch it, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's very good. But
so what's the next WWE movie you're going to watch instead?
Well, I've already watched See No Evil.
Okay. I guess you got to go with the Marine.
I got to go Marine. Maybe I'll go to Marine 6.
I like it.
There's one of those movies where one of the wrestlers, as his wrestler character, pulls a gun on the main character behind the scenes of a wrestling event.
Great.
All right. Pretty good. All right. Well, that's the Condemned. We got one more segment left, and it's a good one. So why don't you sit wherever you are while you're listening to this podcast, or stand, whatever. If you're in a car, probably sit.
Yeah, hopefully you're sitting.
Yeah. And we're going to take a quick break so we can pay the bills, and you guys are going to listen to some ads. So we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for our last segment of the night and the episode. And it's a very simple one, guys. We watched Stone Cold Steve Austin in The Condemned. So I want to talk about the WWE. And specifically, I want to talk about our personal Mount Rushmores of WWE wrestlers. So 4 wrestlers, no more, no less. Who is on your Mount Rushmore? And we could just name these in 4. We don't have to go round robin. So who wants to start?
Mark, you want to go? I know you're a big wrestling guy.
Yeah. I'll immediately go with my favorite wrestler of all time, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, Macho. Just from the promos alone and stuff that I'm sure all of you out there have seen. If you have any interest in wrestling, maybe even seen some just by osmosis. Watching television in the 90s, a lot of the Slim Jim commercials. You have sort of known who Macho Man is, but a lot of the stuff that he did outside of being that character, like, just makes me put him on this list just for the sheer fact of how much he was dedicated to the business. He had the crazy controlling side to him, not going to shy away from that. The Elizabeth stuff isn't great behind the scenes, but there's also the weird moments with him when he was like on Arsenio Hall and like admitted that men should cry. I guess he was the first woke wrestler, quote unquote, because I think Arsenio like asked him, he's like, "Have you ever cried?" He's like, "Yeah, brother, machos cry."
What did he say? I've flown with the eagles and I've slithered with the snakes.
Yeah. Next one I'll put on the list. I'll take Stone Cold. Just for sheer fact, I do take him over The Rock just because of the actual impact that he still weirdly has over Rock, despite The Rock being into movies and stuff. In terms of just the wrestling itself and that community, he definitely is over him. Just for longevity and how long he's done it and things, I would take John Cena. That guy carried the company for 11 years. When the company really needed someone to just be carrying him. And then number one, the guy that was part of the greatest gimmick ever created. And I'll ignore a lot of his off the ring stuff, but just the sheer character of The Undertaker has to be on this list because he's really the only guy that was a full gimmick that lasted as long as it did. A lot of guys were just versions of themselves. The Undertaker was a full gimmick. That was nothing like Mark Calloway, except for the brief American Badass years. But those 4 definitely are on mine.
Okay, great. Dan, what about you? What's your Mount Rushmore?
All right, so it's some similarities, but my number one, Shawn Michaels, the showstopper. He was my favorite wrestler growing up. The guy was doing stuff that not a lot of people were doing at that time period in the WWE. Such a good heel and such a good babyface. He could do it both. So he's my number one. Number two is the excellence of execution, Bret Hart. He was terrible on the mic, but a phenomenal wrestler. He was a lot of fun to watch, and he had some great beefs and some great matches throughout his run time. Number three is, I'm going to agree with Mark, Stone Cold. The guy, ushered in one of the most successful eras of the WWE. And again, his feud with Vince McMahon was amazing. Just not a great technical wrestler, but his persona was phenomenal. Love that guy. And then I also would have to agree with Mark as having The Undertaker on there, just again for the longevity. The gimmick was amazing. Yeah, I think that's a good Mount Rushmore. I'm happy with it.
Nice. And my Mount Rushmore is not dissimilar to either of yours. All of mine has been mentioned already. Bret Hart was my favorite growing up, so I have to have him up here, even though now as I look back at his... the matches were great. I'm not saying the matches weren't great, but the storylines around his matches were kind of goofy. Like the whole Hart family Survivor Series was silly.
It was with Bruce Hart. Bruce Hart flubbing all of his spots.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily hold up particularly well, those storylines, but the wrestling is obviously there. Shawn Michaels is someone who I really appreciate as I've gone back, as I've gotten older and watched his stuff, because he's just very dynamic and very charismatic, and he puts it all together, like you said, a great heel. So there's that. Stone Cold Steve Austin was actually a little bit after I started watching or stopped watching, but I've gone back and I've watched a lot of his, and really what sells it for me is his match, the I Quit match with Bret Hart, the submission match where he the double turn.
Yep,
is a great match, one of the best. So I gotta have him up there. So I'm not really tied to The Rock in terms of anything that I've actually watched. So he gets the leg up from me. And then the last one for me is Macho Man Randy Savage. I started watching and he was like semi-retired at that point. He was doing the Saturday morning show with Todd Pettengill. That's really how I kind of was introduced to him as a wrestler, besides obviously like the Slim Jim and stuff like that.
Was he doing the commentating booth?
No, it was like a show of like packaged events where they would like kind of do the week in wrestling, basically. I don't even remember what it was called. It might have been WWF Superstars. That might have been it.
Yeah.
And he was just like kind of like the goofy sidekick to Todd Pettengill. But he's big personality, obviously. Great on all the memeable promos. Just seemed like a guy who, I mean, he was probably kind of a piece of shit to Miss Elizabeth in real life, but seems like a lust for life kind of guy, and can't take that away.
Yeah, his main thing was he was controlling about Elizabeth.
Yeah.
They probably did hit her and stuff, but that's more of I don't know if that's documented, but I could see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the great story where they had to do a storyline with her getting slapped by Wendy Richter, so they had to do it at a house show where Macho wasn't there.
Right. I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let her. She was all game, but he wouldn't let her do it. But yeah, listen through the list. I think you could even make like a Mount Rushmore of like underrated guys. I think of three of them right off the bat. You have Ted DiBiase. Main storyline is very problematic nowadays, but just DiBiase as a wrestler was underrated and made that and helped the company go because they needed something else besides Hogan and the guys at the top. Mr. Perfect is probably the greatest wrestler to never win a WWE title, and it's a shame that his back gave out. Roddy Piper, probably the first great heel, WrestleMania 1 main event, all that. And then there's probably somebody else, maybe a Steamboat or somebody else from the Dusty or something like that you could put on that list. But
Gotcha. Well, that is our episode. Thank you guys for putting those Mount Rushmores together. And yeah, we are just about wrapping up this episode. So check us out on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter at TickTamPod, on TikTok at They Called This a Movie. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening to me talk and tell you, you probably know how to find us. But we are available on all podcasts. Wherever you can get your podcast, that's where you get them.
Did you want to tell people about the poll?
Oh, right. We were talking about the poll earlier, and we figured out what we're going to do. So we are going to do a Fuck You, It's January grab bag.
Yeah.
So basically, we are going to pit 3 of the worst January releases of all time on a Twitter poll. So go check out TickTamPod on Twitter. Vote in that poll. You probably still have some time left. And pick our next movie that we'll be doing at the end of the month. So that is going to wrap up this episode. That was The Condemned. The director is Scott Wiper. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Devecchio telling Scott Wiper, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TickTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called This a Movie.